Hello friends, in this video we will understand the concept of machine cycles and what is meant by T states. Let us begin. Suppose if I want to define what is meant by program. Program is nothing but set of instructions, am I right? Set of instructions is what we called as program. Now in the previous videos we have seen instructions. We have understood them separately. Now these instructions are going to get combined according to the given task, and that set of instruction together will perform some task, and that set of instruction is what we define as a program. So let's say we have a program and it is nothing but set of instructions. So we don't know how many instructions would be there in each program because we cannot make it generalized. Depending upon the complexity of the program, number of instructions may vary. So let's say we have instruction 1, instruction 2, instruction 3, and so on. In general, we have n instructions, instruction number n. Now, depending on every instruction, microprocessor has to perform number of operations. I repeat, to execute every instruction, MUPI has to undergo various operations. Now, this number of operations I cannot define as a number because again it depends on the complexity of the instruction. Okay. So depending on the complexity of every instruction, number of operations are performed by MUPI in order to execute that instruction, in order to achieve the task. And now this number of operations is what we call as number of machine cycles. So basically operations means machine cycle. In the language of microprocessor, we call them as machine cycles. So machine cycles are nothing but small operations. Exactly what are machine cycles? I'll make you understand in the next slide. But here, just understand that every operation is treated as machine cycle. So depending upon, as I said, complexity, every instruction will take different number of machine cycles. So here, let me assume it takes 2 machine cycles. Let's say machine cycle 1, machine cycle 2. Let's say instruction 2 takes machine cycle 1, machine cycle 2, machine cycle 3, and so on. So in a way, I can define it for every instruction stated here, that machine cycles. How to identify machine cycles, that we will be studying in the next video. Now to perform every operation or to perform every machine cycle, microprocessor needs some time, am I right? To perform every operation, that is performing every machine cycle, MUPI takes some time. So we measure that time in terms of T states. Understand, we measure that time in terms of T states. More is the complexity of machine cycle, more T states you require to perform the task. So let us assume, let's say machine cycle 1. So it takes 4 T states. Let me say T1, T2 up to let's say T4. Machine cycle 2 is taking let's say 3 T states. So it is having T1 state, T2 state and T3 state. Unit of this T will be equal to in terms of second. So let's say machine cycle 1 has taken 4 T states and machine cycle 2 has taken 3 T states. Therefore, these are total 4 T states and these are total 3 T states. So after performing these all, can I say instruction number 1 is completed? So overall if you see, instruction 1 takes 7 T states, that is 4 plus 3. So total T states taken by instruction 1 is equal to 7 times T. Now let us understand the concept of what is meant by T state. Now the answer is hidden in the clock frequency. What was the clock frequency of 8085? It was 6 megahertz. You remember that? This 6 megahertz gets internally divided by 2. So operating frequency of 8085 is 3 megahertz. So what is important is operating frequency. So I'm going to call f clock frequency as 3 megahertz instead of 6 megahertz because operating frequency is 3 megahertz for us. Clock frequency is 3 megahertz. So we draw a clock like this. Let me tell you, this is the ideal way of drawing the clock. in practice such type of clock are not available. In fact, this abrupt changes that we are making 0 to 1 and 1 to 0 doesn't happen practically. So practically what happens is it doesn't become 0 to 1 or 1 to 0 abruptly. It takes some time, and that time is what we call as rise time and fall time. In fact, we have this type of clock as a practical clock. So as we can see, this is the difference between practical clock and the ideal clock. So we are going to assume practical clock, and we are going to assume all negative age triggering. So negative age triggering means we will be taking this as a reference. All negative ages are taken as a reference. Can I say that here the distance between two negative ages takes one cycle? Is that right? See, duration between two negative ages or two consecutive negative ages, it takes a complete time period t, and this t is nothing but a t state. So t state is nothing but a time period which would be calculated by inversing the frequency. So we know that f clock frequency is 3 megahertz and t is nothing but a time period of the same clock frequency. So how to get t when f is known? Of course, they are inverse of each other. Then can I say that t is equal to 1 upon f clock? Therefore, now you can say that t is equal to 1 upon f clock. Then t is equal to 1 upon 3 megahertz. If you do, you will get this as 0.33 microsecond. So the value of t is 0.33 microsecond, meaning that if every t size is 0.33 microsecond, and if my instruction number 1 is taking total 7 t states to execute, where 1 t state is 0.33 microsecond, can I get what is the execution time for instruction 1? I hope you got my point. See, f clock frequency is 3 megahertz. From f clock frequency, I got one time period which is 1 upon 3 megahertz, which comes out to be 0.33 microsecond. Here, for example, instruction 1 requires total 7 t states. Then if 1 t state takes 0.33 microsecond, then 7 t states are going to take how much time? Of course, it is 7 multiplied by 0.33 microsecond. Therefore, total time taken by instruction number 1 to get execute is 7 into 0.33 microsecond, which comes out to be 2.33 microseconds. So in a way, if I'm able to get how many machine cycles are required for every instruction, and also I know for every machine cycle how many t states are required, then I'll come to know how much time every instruction will take to get executed. So if I know execution time of every instruction, I can actually determine the complete execution time of a program. And basically this is used for delay generation, that is software delay generation. So when we are going to write code for software delay program, during that time it is essential to know how much time it is taken by a program to get executed. So first of all, we will see what is the classification of machine cycles and their respective t states, because here, as I said, machine cycle 1 has 4 t states and machine cycle 2 has, let's say, 3 t states. These were just assumptions and doesn't make any sense. So better to know what are standard machine cycles and their respective t states. So I'm sure from overall it is quite clear to you. So I'll just make it summarize. So I'll just make it clear once again. See, every program takes number of instructions to get executed. Every instruction has number of operations to get executed depending upon the complexity. This number of operations is what we call as number of machine cycles. So program has number of instructions, every instruction takes number of machine cycles, and every machine cycle takes some time to get executed, that is it requires number of t states depending upon its complexity. And every t is nothing but a time period of the clock frequency, and clock frequency is nothing but operating frequency of mu p, which is 3 megahertz. Inverse of 3 megahertz is 0.33 microseconds. So in this example, as I said, that let's say if instruction 1 takes 7 t states, and if 1 t is having a time width of 0.33 microsecond, then instruction 1 will take 2.33 microsecond to get executed. So let's go ahead and see what are the standard machine cycles and their respective t states. So on left hand side, I'll specify machine cycles, and here we will write their respective t states. So number of t states will be now clear to you. Very first machine cycle is called as opcode fetch, and opcode fetch takes 4 T states. Sometimes it is very rare, it takes 6 T states. I'll make it clear when it takes 6 T states, but until and unless I talk about 6 T states, it is by default 4 T states only. So for all opcode fetches machine cycle, it is going to take 4 T states only. After that, we have operand fetch, we have memory read, we have memory write. Along with that, we have IO read and we have IO write. The common factor for rest of the machine cycle is that all of them takes 3 T states. Even though they are different machine cycles and does different work, all of them take same time, that is 3 T states. I'm sure you remember what is T. T is inverse of the operating frequency, which is 3 megahertz. So the value of T will be 0.333 microsecond, provided the operating frequency is 3 megahertz. Sometimes they do specify some other operating frequency. For the same, you have to calculate your own T and then you have to do the calculations. So these are the standard machine cycles, which is opcode fetch, operand fetch, memory read, memory write, IO read, IO write. So in short, I'll tell you about each machine cycle, what really it means. Opcode fetch, see, understand, fetch means read. Fetch means read, and who reads? Of course, MUPI reads. So opcode fetch means MUPI is reading an opcode from the memory. I'll tell you what is the meaning of opcode later on. So MUPI is reading opcode from the memory. So in first machine cycle, MUPI reads an opcode from, of course, memory. Opcode is a part of instruction. Okay. Similarly, in operand fetch, MUPI reads, this time it is operand fetch. Fetch means read, and who reads? Of course, MUPI reads. So MUPI reads an operand from memory. And last, the name of the machine cycle tells you itself what is meant by that. What is memory read? We have already seen, in fact, memory read machine cycle. So memory read machine cycle means normal data, not a code, but a normal data is read from memory. In memory write, MUPI writes the data into memory device. In IO read, MUPI is going to read from IO device, and in IO write, MUPI is going to write into IO device, a normal data. It's not related to code. Whatever related to code are first two machine cycles, that is opcode fetch and operand fetch. Opcode and operand are actually a part of instruction only. Remember, every instruction consists of two parts. The one is called as opcode, the other one is called as operand. So in next video, we will understand what is the meaning of opcode and what is the meaning of operand. Along with that, we will also study how to identify the machine cycles as well as T states for any given instruction, and it is required, as I said, while writing software delays. Thank you.